Hello everyone and welcome to Saturday Night Crafting on Sunday. Again, I'm really terrible with time management, so we are a day late in my Saturday Night Crafting, but we're gonna have a fun time anyways. Tonight we are playing with the KISS technique, which is a fun technique where you can transfer images using your stamps. Now generally you do this technique with a nice big solid image or a stamp that has very low detail but quite solid, and I'm going to share with you how you can kind of do this technique if you don't have that, because basically all I have in my stash are these two sets in front of me where I've got the squares and those little trees, and that's kind of all I've got in terms of solid stamps. So if you're like me, don't panic. I'm going to share with you how you can do it without having a big solid stamp. So I'm going to give you the rundown. We're going to do technique number 1, which is where you're going to take your solid image stamp and you're going to lift up the pattern of the other stamp and create a new stamp. So the idea is that we're turning this background stamp into basically a nice beautiful square stamp. So you can go ahead and ink up your large stamp, take your smaller solid image stamp and pick up that image, and you can just transfer it down onto your card. Now I do wipe my stamp in between every go for every single one of these projects, just to make sure I don't pick up loads of different images and transfer them. So that's the basic idea of KISS stamping. You are basically merging those two stamps together and kissing them together and creating your new image. Now another way of doing this is to add on some color onto that solid image first. So you are then going to pick up some more color. So I'm doing a light color on my solid stamp and then a darker color on my more intricate background stamp, and I'm going to just simply put the color onto my square and pick up the other color off the other one. And then now we can really see that square image a lot clearer. This is my favorite way of doing the KISS stamping. I like having that kind of background color in there as well. I feel like it makes the most of having that double stamp effect going on. So there's the two different ones there for you. I'm not going to make cards out of that. That was just to kind of show you the basic techniques. We're going to move on to technique number 3 in just a minute. But first I'm going to share with you how you can make your own large background stamps so that you can do this technique in a whole variety of ways. So I have got shape dies in front of me and some fun foam. This is the slightly thicker fun foam than the average fun foam that you would get from the shop, but the average fun foam will also work. I just like the slight little bit of height difference on my thicker fun foam. This stuff here is from Walmart in Canada and it's got sticky back on it. Whatever you've got in your stash you can use, it will work just fine. Now on my fun foam, and this is how all my sheets are, no matter what brand, manufacturer, company I get it from, they always have these little air bubble holes on them. So when you are placing your die onto your section of fun foam, just check that there aren't any of those little bubbles to make sure that your image is nice and clear if you're going to do technique number 2, where you're going to ink up the background, which is what I'm going to do with these ones. Now I'm cutting out a star, a square, and a slightly larger square so I can share with you a few different techniques and projects that you can do with this kissing technique. So when you die cut your fun foam, run it through your die cut machine once. Never go backwards and forwards. You will stretch and warp the foam and it won't work as nicely. You only need to run it through once, even with really thick foam, and it will cut beautifully, so don't worry about that. Now the first way that you can go ahead and use these homemade stamps is to stick them down onto acrylic block. This enables you to turn it into a proper stamp. I'll show you how to do it on a stamp platform as well if you prefer that method. So I'm going to stick my little square down onto my acrylic block, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing as before. I'm going to ink up my background stamp with the dark ink, and then I can simply take my piece of foam, stick it down, and I can pick up that image really nicely. It's not quite as crisp and clear as using a photopolymer stamp, but it still is beautiful and you still get that lovely image as well. Obviously, if you don't have background stamps, you could create your own by just sticking a whole bunch of stamps, smaller stamps down, and then you could kind of form your own little background if you have not got an image that you can use instead. So again, the second method, you're going to ink up that square first and then stick it down into the darker ink, and then you can see you can pick up both of the images, the background square as well as that gorgeous background. And I do wipe off in between. I'm just using a dry cloth and pulling up most of the ink, and then you can see you can keep stamping and you don't get any of that image kind of transferring over. So there's the two differences. You can make a much bigger stamp if you do it yourself. Now the next method, you can stick it into your stamp platform. Again, I'm just using some sticky tape to stick it in, and I'll share with you how you get that off later on in the video. It's quite easy and simple to do. The stamp platforms have a really nice acrylic block built into them, so they're really easy to clean. So I've placed my square down, picked it up with my stamp platform, inked up that square, and then stamped and picked up my extra image, and then I can go ahead and stamp that onto my card. Now this is where you could do some assembly line process card making, and all you have to do again is wipe that left hand side of your little square with a dry rag, and then come in and do your next bit of stamping and just keep repeating the process, and then you can make a whole bunch of Christmas cards really quick and easy using a stamp platform. So I did about 4 panels and 2 different colors. Now the next one I wanted to show you is, because we did photo paper in my last video and I love photo paper and it's sat on my desk, I thought we'd do the photo paper as well. It works just as beautifully, though it does pick up the color a lot more. So the color is so much more vibrant than on regular cardstock, and you can see that here, and the image is a bit more crisp. So photo paper is also a really fun way to do this stamping technique as well. Now moving on to number 3. This is another way of doing the kissing technique, and you can use just one color of ink for this one and still get that gorgeous image in the background while inking up your background of your stamp. So I'm going to take my ink pad and I'm going to ink up my homemade stamp with this light yellow, and then I'm going to simply take that and place that onto the background stamp and let the background stamp lift off the ink, and then I can go ahead and place my image down, and you get this sort of gorgeous look where it almost looks like a lighter yellow and a darker yellow, but you've only got one ink pad. So it's great if you're limited on resources, or you only have one color or one shade of the color that you want to use. You can do this technique as well, and then again you can just wipe it with a dry rag in between and then go ahead and do it again if you need more of those images to be stamped down. So this I didn't press down as hard because I felt like with the fun foam, if I pushed quite firmly, sometimes I lost the image showing up. So my stars don't look as great as the ones on the left, which is using 2 different shades of yellow. So those are the 3 different ways that you can use the kissing technique in card making. And now I'm going to turn them into cards. So if you aren't bothered by seeing what you can do with them, you can turn off the video now. Those are the 3 techniques summed up for you. If you want to stick around, then I'm going to share with you how you can change these into cards. So for this one here, I just die cut out a square right out of that panel. So I stamped another version onto my card front, and then I die cut it out so that I could then have this perfectly positioned little stencil to go over top of my square. And I'm just taking a black permanent marker, tracing around it, and then I'm drawing some lines. And my lines are going on because I'm going to turn this into a gift. So it's going to look like a present on the front of a card. So really easy way. Take a rectangle or a square and you can make it look like a giant gift. And I've got these dies from scrapbook.com. They're little bow dies. They're super cute and you get a whole bunch of different sizes. So they work really well for doing something like this if you want to do a quick and simple gift. Now this is how I got my bit of fun foam off of my stamp platform. So I peel it off and then work away at it with my fingers for a couple seconds. Then I take some alcohol. This is 90% alcohol. I spritz it on and let it sit. So I did spritz it already. And then I go ahead and rub it with a dry cloth and do that a couple times, and it just comes right off nice and easy. The alcohol kind of eats away at the adhesive and sticky, and you got your stamp platform perfectly clear. And that's what I did with my clear block as well. I just sprayed it with some alcohol and gave it a firm rub and just took off all that adhesive. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my little stamped image back into my stamp platform, and I've got this Merry Christmas from scrapbook.com, and it's really great because those sentiments are nice and big and chunky, and it fits beautifully at the top of my card panel. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in black to add my sentiment onto that card. And then I can go ahead and add on my bows. When I placed my bow onto my card, it felt like it was all a bit much black. So I decided to grab my scrapbook.com glitter pen and add some glitter to the front of that bow so that I could then go ahead and stick that onto the front of my card and have it kind of be a little bit special, a little bit shiny, because that's kind of the focal point of the card, is this beautiful bow. Now, sometimes I find the scrapbook.com pen not quite as good as the Wink of Stella pen, and I find that the glitter will rub off a little bit. So I just spritz it with a bit of hairspray, dry it, and then it's good to go, and that glitter doesn't go anywhere off the front of my bow. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that onto the front of my card. And then to finish it, I'm going to add a little gem just in the center of the bow to add a little bit of sparkle and shine, and then I can add that onto my card base. And that would complete my card. So I did trim down this card panel just a tiny bit on the left side and the bottom, ever so slightly, just so that it would fit on the front of my card front and have a tiny, tiny little white border all the way around it. So really quick and simple, easy way to make a Christmas card using your DIY stuff at home and whatever you've got in your stash. A really easy way to do that. Now, I did order this. I was on Amazon, I was looking around, and I found this vinyl sticker paper. and it is like holographic sticker paper, and it's see-through. So I don't know if you've ever seen this stuff before. You get 20 sheets in this pack. I'll link everything I used today down below for you, but this is my exciting Amazon find. So you get a bunch of different designs. You get the clear, you get the cracked ice, you get speckled, and then you get stars. And they're all see-through. So you can actually take this paper and you can stick it on top of cardstock and create your own holographic see-through like topper for your cardstock. So you'll see the magic in a minute. Look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Who would have known? Apparently you're supposed to make stickers with it, but I'm just going to stick it on top of my black cardstock and make these shiny and gorgeous just as they are. So here are my bows. It die cut like a dream. It's really thin sticker paper, so fantastic. I don't know, I'm just really excited by this. I think it's the coolest thing. I'll link it down below. I don't know if you can get it in America. I would imagine you can get the same thing. You just have to look for vinyl holographic sticker paper, I think is what you need to Google. If you're in the UK, I'll link the stuff that I bought down below. So here are my finished cards. I did 4 of them. I got these cute little Christmas cards. They're all like popped up onto a card base. I've got a little gem in the middle of each of them. And that was quick and easy. If you have a go with this technique, I do have a Facebook group linked down below in my description box, and you can always pop over to that Facebook group and share any of your makes with us over there. We love seeing what you get up to. Now, to finish off one of these star cards, I kind of started running out of time, so I just did one of these. I decided I wanted to trace them as well, just like I did the squares, so I grabbed a glitter gold pen, and I do change this up. I ended up switching to a thicker end of glitter pen, so this one's a fine point one, and I ended up using quite a thick one in the end. But I traced all those stars. And then I wanted to add in sentiment onto the front of my card, and I went with the gift idea again. So I used 2 strips of gold, backed it on top of a gold panel, and made it look like a Christmas present, and then added that little sentiment on the front of my card. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's tutorial, and I hope you give it a go as well. I've got some more that I need to finish off in my own time, so if I get that time, I will pop them on my Instagram account, which is also linked down below. I'm very terrible at that though. I don't go on there very often. I am working on improving that, but you can follow along over there if you want as well. So take care, have a fabulous weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye!